from the world #1. And we will end the segment with yet another Queen's Gambit, Nimzo Indian. First Nimzo of the, oh, it's no longer really a Nimzo if the move d5 appears. But this is a real masterclass in Queen's Pawns games.
Yeah, we're learning a lot. Both players have clearly been studying similar openings before this match. Magnus plays a very safe line. The bishop to d2 variation is known for its solidity with white. You don't get doubled pawns, as we often see in the Nimzo Indian. So the pawn structure often remains fluid, often symmetrical. Magnus, I think, would be content at this point at keeping his lead, maintaining it into the next segment. But the queen comes out. He wants the bishop pair, at least, as a small imbalance. The key is whether black can play the move c5. Alireza tends to like that type of move as quickly as possible if he can get it. Clarify things, but no, a5 defends the bishop instead.
There are a lot of ways in these Rogozin Queen's Gambit declined positions to move bishops. You can move them to b4, you can move them to e7, you can move them to d6 in certain situations. This one is quite unique because you've traded off the bishop for the knight on c3. Now, for about half a move there, the pawns were doubled. Right? You had c3 and c4. But if white trades off all the pawns, all the benefits that you get for damaging the structure are just not particularly there anymore. Now you take on d5, and traditional wisdom tells you bishop pairs are really good. And they are, because now white is going to have the entire open queen side and very powerful bishops. Alireza, meanwhile, will have to work on the dynamics, targeting the center with his knights, maybe solidifying. But overall, this is very much a position that I would take Magnus, and the traditional kind of understanding that the bishops, both on light and dark squares, will put substantial pressure on black. Having said all of that, and rambling for about 40 seconds, they've both done a very good job of playing like the other. So Alireza is about to fight back in significant fashion.
And here we go. The queen is kicked to a3. Magnus often likes to delay castling, but he's one move away now. And long term, the bishop pair, the pawn center, very, very promising. Magnus looks like he's smiling there, Levy. Is that about the game? Is that, what's he thinking about?
I don't know. Maybe somebody has a funny sign. Really, I don't know. It's always a bad thing when your opponent is just smiling happily. You're having the most stressful match of your life. Happens a lot when you play children in tournaments. I'm playing a 9-year-old, and I'm really locked in, and he's licking chips off his fingers and laughing at me. That's really, yeah, that's quite a humbling experience.
Yeah, and Hikaru had a tough weekend. He was never smiling. That was the thing. Players tend to play best when they're relaxed, chilled. No matter how that is achieved, whether it's golf, whether it's mustaches, music. Rook c2, very solid move, guarding the a2 pawn. That pawn is key. He needs to keep it alive. Much more important than the c7 pawn that he could have grabbed.
For sure, we saw Alireza win a game earlier with an outside a pawn. This would have been the exact same situation. With a position like the one white has, after you make several more improving moves, like castling, pawn to h3, maybe removing the other rook to the queen side, suddenly it becomes very difficult for black to make another improving move. And you'll see us talk about that a lot, and the players make these types of moves. c6 is an attempt at making an improving move, but you're going backwards. Every time you go backwards in chess, you give up space. I like to tell beginners and intermediate players, 8 times out of 10, roughly, going back is the wrong move. And going back here was the wrong move. Magnus keeps improving things.
Yeah, I guess the knight wasn't great or stable anyway, but maybe the knight was better on the square, the central square that the queen sits on. He's never going to be able to connect his pawns, push his pawns. They'll be easily blockaded on the dark squares. The white rooks as well, staring down a semi-open file. Black is very much stuck. And slowly but surely, Magnus will now be trying to improve his bishops, maybe his knight. If you can pick it up and put it anywhere else, maybe b4, f4, somewhere closer towards the center. But rook b2 from Magnus, he's trying to persuade these pawns, provoke them forward.
Now, if b5 happens here, then the c6 pawn is going to be super weak. And if c6 is weak, b5 is weak, and if b5 is weak, a4 is weak. Could be real bad here for Alireza in just a few moves.
Dominoes, they all collapse one by one. But what else to do? If you don't push b5, you have to put your rooks on some passive squares. Oh, this is very difficult for Alireza. I think he just needs to try and limit the damage now, just survive the next few moves.
Wasn't the prediction for this segment from chess.com 4.5, 3.5?
Oh, I think it was a 2-point lead.
You're right. It was, I think, 5.5, 3.5. That would be a legendary call if it comes true.
Yeah, and it didn't look like it would be that way for so long. But Magnus has upped his game just recently.
Yeah, this is the last game. the 9th and final game of this segment. It's a very, very strange structure. The queenside dominoes, the c-file, which just feels so tender, but you can't put anything there. And anything you put, c6 will be protected, but white is maybe preparing bishop to f3. There's also maybe f3, e4 type of business here, which would be very unpleasant to me. That's apparently a bad move. Hey, why can't we just go bishop f3 here?
Yeah, bishop f3 looks very awkward for black to face. No threats, but an awkward pin. f3, you mentioned that, Levy, maybe also a possibility. You could also take the knight and then f3 and prepare e4 quickly. You could even dodge with the knight. I think everything is good here,
Knight
unfortunately.
b1 or knight f1 looks very problematic as well because f3 is coming.
Yeah, I quite like knight f1 as well, just to defend the e3 pawn. He goes for it immediately, Magnus Carlsen. We're being told the pre-match prediction was 5-3 in his favor. So, yeah, 2-point lead. That would make him a favorite. I'm not sure, 78% favorite, as we were discussing earlier. But Magnus now, big threat on the board. e4 would be winning a piece on the spot.
He takes a sip of water. He knows things have gone terribly wrong here for black. I did say at some point black is going to be running out of moves. And he has. He does not have an improving move anymore. You try to improve with the rooks double up, e4 is a problem. Black has tangible, concrete problems in this position, which will involve a retreat here. Doesn't matter that it won't be a fork. Magnus is about to take over the game.
Yeah, this is so one-sided now, the position. You can switch your attentions back to c2. Now it's possible to double up. I mean, at some point, even a break in the center. The white queen can slide across. She's no longer forced to stay sidelined. There we go.
And you can't even defend the rook from straight on, the pawn from straight on with the rook, because white has bishop takes b5.
There is a trap. Queen takes pawn would blunder due to the rook sliding across with a skewer on the c-file. The rook behind would drop with a check. That trick will be spotted.
Also, Alireza could be preparing some e4 sacrifice.
Yeah, bishop takes e4.
Not anymore.
That's clever, getting out of the range of the black knight. But that's just an indefensible pawn long term.
Yeah. That's it. There's not much else to say. That pawn's going to fall.
Ooh, the bar rises. That means there might be some tactics in the air. I wouldn't be shocked if Magnus slow plays it here, just moves his queen, or like h3 or something. But I wonder, Levy, d5, something along the back rank.
That must just be winning. You sack the queen for the two rooks, and the black position totally falls apart. d5 takes queen sack, knight e8 at the end, and bishop takes b5. There is queen b6 check. There is queen b6 check. It's not so simple. But maybe rook c6 first, something like that.
Oof, yeah, just close the door. Rooks and bishops combined there will overpower the queen. Magnus is thinking, he's calculating. It's no longer just about positional feel, where to put the pieces. This has been a classy game. It feels like Alireza, probably it's a good time for a break for him.
I pitched the idea for the next Chess Championship that we have a timeout button. In the middle of a segment, you're allowed, or maybe one time during the match, you can press timeout. Be cool if we had a coach's box, too. The coach sitting there can give you advice at some points during, not during the games, please, but during segments or after games. But today they're on their own.
Yeah, they do have coaches somewhere in the shadows, lurking in the backgrounds, but not visible to us. I like the timeout idea. I mean, Hikaru, for example, would have loved a timeout just before the final game against Denis Lazavik, just to maybe calm his nerves. But we see the breakthrough. Of course, it's the Connect 4. And yeah, more importantly, he's breaking through on the back rank now, Magnus Carlsen. Pawn takes pawn. We would see a queen sacrifice, not the first time in this match. Queen takes c8, and devastation.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure there is literally any other choice. What else can you do here with black? If you lose c6, you lose b5 and a4. We've been over this. And not only do you lose all of those things, you don't have any counterplay at all. The pawn spike in the center for white blocks out the knight and the bishop. He will probably have to play pawn takes pawn. He's going to do it with like 15 seconds on the clock or 10 seconds and try to hope that Magnus panics in a scramble.
Here we go. The knight blocks. Bishop takes would be a mistake here. Or would it? A queen check. Maybe there's still rook c5. But Magnus takes a pawn. That is a cool tactic. Queen takes bishop. It's a brilliancy here. Would be met by rook to e1 with a dastardly skewer. That's so sneaky, Levy.
Yeah, pawn takes d5 is what he worked on there. He realized bishop b5 doesn't work. Pawn takes d5. Nice move deflecting the queen. 6 seconds for Firouzja to make a decision. Bishop b5 is coming and it's over.
Bishop b5 is coming. Rook e1. That knight is not surviving long.
Sack the rook. Take. And that's it. 3 pieces for the queen. Promoting pawn. We are 2-3 moves away from a resignation and a Magnus 2-game lead going to the 3+1.
They coordinate so well, those white pieces. Pawn to a3 would cement the bishop. That d pawn's a queen. Yeah, this is over. There we go. Everything protected. The rook will go to the d file next, propelling the pawn forward. We're going to see a resignation. It's going to be the end of the 5+1 section.
That is it. That is it. Magnus Carlsen smiling as he comes back from a one-game deficit. He trailed in the first time, for the first time in the finals, but oh my goodness, after that he roars back with 3 straight wins.
3 straight wins. Alireza, of course, lost 4 games on the bounce yesterday to Hikaru, but he also went on 4-game winning streaks. Okay. He's have to go to improve somehow and find some magic against Magnus next.
Yeah, he's happy to interact. There are 3 games like that. You can be happy. Firouzja can be happy with the play in the middle of the match, but it was quite clear that the second he took a lead, there was that game where he got a little bit carried away with the position. He took some liberties, and then he ended up losing that game on time. That was a very important game where he almost came back ultimately, but he couldn't quite pull it off. You have to get a lead, and you have to maintain it. And if you don't, the train is going to run away from the station.
Levy, someone smuggled your book into the venue. I saw it there.
Yeah, it's the contraband. He's got Magnus to sign it there. Hopefully he's got to write a book of his own.
And there we go. He's heading off. He's co-written a book alongside yours truly.
Yes, yes, yes. But